Hi, I'm Paul Hopewell. Welcome back to my workshop. I make all sorts of parts and components in my workshop and I show you how I did it. In this video I show you the first few tentative cuts on my South Bend 13 lathe. But before I put a cut on, I made a couple of discoveries while checking the gearhead alignment, and I used a bit of offcut here to show you what I was looking for. I made this video to show the many viewers that asked to see the lathe cutting chips or whittling swarf. It wasn't my intention to go blathering on or to dedicate much time to showing you why at first it all went a bit wrong. After digging out my homemade setting bar, it's a tool that I made quite a while ago to check my Warco lathe. It's got two equal sized 25mm journals at 300mm apart and a chuck journal set to approximately 23mm and parallel. All diameters are concentric to each other. The chuck is made by Taylor and I've got 4 different sets of jaws to choose from. So I had high expectations from this chuck because it's supposed to be the dog's kahunas. But after spending far too long farting about with the chuck key, the material still waggled about in the jaws like the mutt's nuts at a mating fest. Right now I was beginning to wonder if the spindle was bent or if the chuck had well and truly turned its last. So I fitted the second of my 2 chucks. This chuck is not waggling the setting tool around like the Taylor chuck is. But with this chuck fitted, I feel that the spindles could still have some sort of error. This chuck has a 0.06mm run out, about 2 thou at the chuck. And out of interest, I run the clock at both ends of the setting bar to find out that they were both out by the same amount. So this means the jaws of this chuck were machined on this lathe at some time. Chuck number 3, the 4-jaw. After truing up the setting bar at both ends, which took about 10 seconds, this clip shows me completing the tailstock setup, by the way. But the clocks indicated to me 2 things. One, the gearhead has less than a 1 thou error over 300mm. This is inside the manufacturer's limit, both vertically and horizontally. And the second thing I found is that at least one of my 3-jaw chucks is useless, at the moment anyway. I did say that the tailstock wouldn't be very good. Well, despite removing a shim during the strip down, and when trued up with the setting bar and inserted into the end cone, the DTI showed that the error along the bar to be an improvement to the manufacturer's tolerance limit. That was after a couple more sideways corrections with the tailstock. I've received a sticker from Paul the Knackler, representing the Knackler's workshop from the UK's south coast. He has an interest in Unimat lathes and has also refurbished an older unit. His videos are detailed on-the-fly descriptions giving details of his discoveries. He also has a range of hints and tips that DIYers might find very useful. Go have a look at his channel, you might find some of his stuff of great use. Cheers mate, welcome to the sticker board. I know I've got problems with both of my 3-jaw chucks, but I'll look at that issue another time. But for now, like many of you that have watched the series on refurbishing this lathe, I want to see it cut metal, and we'll do it together. The cutting tool I'm using is an old high-speed steel tool that I quickly dressed up on the grinder. After all, it was the norm when this lathe was first built. This bit of hard steel is dumpster fodder. It's gnarly and there's not much for the jaws to grab onto, but hopefully I've got it well enough to be able to put a couple of cuts across to show you that all is well and good. Then I can get on with something else. You are in fact watching what I saw and heard as it happened here in real time. No problem at this moment in time because I hadn't set the cross slide gib strip yet. The feed rate is 15 thou, that's 0.38mm at about 15 thou depth of cut, At this speed, the high-speed steel should cope. After a little bit of adjustment to the cross slide, I decided to alter the RPM to a lower speed, just to give me enough time to grab my Zimmer frame and leg it out the door should something hit the fan. I think I set that a little bit too slow. That's better. Something else needs tweaking. And something else. Don't forget, the material is a bit hard. And not only that, it looks like an old ram pinion because it looks very well gnarled up. Right, after attending to the loose cross slide and the loose compound slide, the only other reason I could find that the vibration occurred was due to the workpiece sticking out too far and also the jaws needing a bit more of a tweak. By now I wanted to put a cut on the OD, so if the material is going to climb over the tool and belt me in the face, now's the time it's likely to do it. The feed rate was set to 28 thou per rev and to 15 thou depth of cut. This is the first cut along this material, as you can well see. The material wasn't set to make the material as true as possible, that's obviously plain to see, but I did set the material to attain the best overall grip in the jaws. And as the material is a bit of junk, it doesn't matter. I'm getting bored now. You can tell because I'm speeding up the video for a while. After a few 15 thou deep cuts to clean up the OD, I went back to the shoulder and buried the tool into it. At full depth, the varying cut was between 50 and 80 thou. The tool did give a very low resonant grumble, but let's not forget the jaws haven't got a full bite. The one thing that did impress me was that the chuck didn't even show any signs of slowing down. The Warco lathe I have will not cut much at this speed and it would simply stall. This is why it was a bit unstable. I could only grab about an inch of material, as you can see here. But I'm happy with the outcome, especially at that feed rate. When I did the next cut, I cleaned up the material to find out how smooth the finished cut could be. I started with this rib. The feed rate was 25 thou at 10 thou depth of cut, just to rough it out, and I sent the tool through a couple of times to round it up. Finally, I made a finishing cut about 10 thou depth of cut with a 10 thou feed. The finish was very nice. When I did this end face, I maintained the 10 thou feed by a 10 thou depth of cut. The old girl looks good, don't she? The finish was quite good considering the material that I used and the condition that it was in. Yeah, that's a lovely finish. Well, I've just had a knock on the front door and look what Santa's brought for me. A nice new 3-phase rotary converter. That should make the clockwork tick along nicely. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.